Hey guys, Omni here. We're going to be checking out a video from Cosmic Wonder today. Apparently, somebody at Marvel has spoken out about where exactly Renslayer went if this title is to be revealed. Where Renslayer went revealed by Marvel. I did read a little bit of the description and did say somebody at Marvel Studios did comment on where exactly she went, and of course, as the title also alludes, that she might be, as we would assume, set up as a future villain in the MCU. The major theory right now is that our Kang told Miss Minutes to give her information on where she could possibly meet up with his other variants or another variant of himself, whether it be another Immortus or she goes up and stumbles upon Kang the Conqueror himself. Though I don't know why Immortus, the Immortus version that we met in the finale, would necessarily lead her to an evil version of himself, because that seems counterintuitive. But then again, we don't really know his true motivations. There was a lot of things going on behind the scenes in his mind when he was telling Loki and Sylvie everything that was going to happen, everything that he wanted to happen, and all that jazz. There's definitely some shenanigans happening there, I think, behind the scenes. Or just he's done this so long that he doesn't really care what happens as long as he doesn't have to deal with it anymore. So I don't know. There's a lot of different ways we can go about it. We did a video on New Rockstars, a little breakdown of all the Easter eggs, and I went on this like 20-some minute tirade about the multiverse, its structuring, and the way the show has framed it up to this point. So if you want to check that out, do that. You can. You can also check out my reaction for the final episode, and we'll be talking about it more tomorrow on our live stream. But guys, let's go ahead and see what Warren's got to say. See what Marvel Studios let slide and slip out. Here we go.
What's going on, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. And yesterday's Loki finale was absolutely insane. There was a lot that was answered, a lot that was revealed, but we're also left with a lot more questions. But luckily, we are going to be getting
a lot of questions.
And movies like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man No Way Home are going to also help clear some things up. So yes, we have to wait for season 2, but Spider-Man's going to be crazy, and it sounds like Doctor Strange is going to be absolutely
I can't
bonkers
freaking wait, man.
Elizabeth Olsen has recently stated that they really are trying to make a scary movie, and we recently got reports that Tom Hiddleston's Loki will be in Multiverse of Madness, which is very fitting since him and Sylvie caused that, and we'll get into that. But first, thank you to Magic 6R for sponsoring this video. We'll talk about them in a bit, but one big question that everybody had at the end of the Loki finale was, where did Renslayer go? And if you haven't seen the Loki episode 6 finale, spoilers coming up, so if you don't care, great. If you do, bye. Renslayer just yeeted out of there. All she said was that she was going in search of free will. It wasn't even really revealed if she knew who He Who Remains was. Although it didn't really seem like it, you never really know, because where did she go? Well, luckily, we actually don't have to wonder too much, because Marvel themselves actually put out an article explaining what had happened at the end. The article is actually called Loki, The Truth About Judge Renslayer and Miss Minutes. And I'll break down this entire article and talk about if Renslayer actually knew Kang, or He Who Remains, or was she blindsided as well, and where exactly did she go and set out to do in the end when she left the TVA. And if you're new and you want to stay up to date on all things MCU, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos.
And I recommend you guys do as well.
By Marvel is actually really cool because they tell us what she's thinking that is not said on screen. And it starts off by talking about how when the series first begins, she's very loyal and it's very black and white. The TVA is good, everything else is kind of bad. It's their job to prune these other timelines so they can protect the sacred timeline and prevent a multiversal war. And the TVA actually did a good job at that. They protected the sacred timeline. There was only one, no branch timelines were created, and there was no multiversal war. As soon as Sylvie killed Kang, it all just went crazy. And as Kang / He Who Remains said, the TVA works. And boy, was he right, because as soon as he was gone, it all went into madness. And this article goes on to tell us that Renslayer believes in the TVA. Even if it was kind of created by a lie, it still works. One paragraph reads, she has the making of a very complex villain that has her own set of principles and beliefs that drive her. She doesn't believe that what she's doing is evil. She believes that the mission is for greater good. And Renslayer probably wishes that she never learned that the timekeepers were fake. that they had just been able to keep doing this forever. And that's from the head writer, Michael Waldron. And we see this actually play out on screen. Mobius says that, I think the people are ready to hear a little truth, you know, like the TVA is a lie. But Renslayer immediately replies, but what if it's a necessary one?
Yeah.
In this scene right here, the article reads that Renslayer is desperate, especially when Mobius and Hunter B-15 are kind of starting to show everybody that the TVA really is a lie. They continue to explain, she's the good soldier of the TVA, just a disciple to the bureaucracy. Then it's revealed to be a lie to her. Instead of that galvanizing her and making her question her life's purpose, the way it did with Mobius, Renslayer wants to stay in power. She reacts more in anger, and this is actually one key of why she left. And this is where they explain what she's up to. They say that the idea that pretty much everyone in the TVA is a variant and that there are other variants of Renslayer in different times, that was kind of mind-blowing to me. And this is Mbatha Ross speaking, who plays Renslayer in the MCU. She continues to say, we just dipped our toe into this at the end of the show, but you realize that the multiverse is just so epic. The possibilities are endless. There's so much potential for what's on the other side of that time door, and ultimately, she wants revenge with whoever put this whole facade together. As for her parting thoughts as she disappears to parts unknown, she's thinking, peace out, bye, free will. I get free will now. She wants to find who pulled the wool over her eyes. That's what she's going to go out in search of. And they end by saying, she is a scary customer to be out there in the multiverse, so we'll see what happens. So in this article, Marvel reveals to us where Renslayer went. She went in search of the person that created the TVA as well, verifying that she did not know He Who Remains. In this article, they also state that she did not know that the Timekeepers were alive. And the series actually made it pretty clear that she spoke with the Timekeeper several times. However, of course, we know that it was He Who Remains that was controlling them. Or Miss Minutes, but of course she works for him. Now, there are serious implications of Renslayer walking away to go and find He Who Remains / Kang. And I actually think that she herself is about to become a major villain as well. And I'll explain this in just a bit. But real quick, thank you to Red Magic 6R for sponsoring this video.
When it comes to playing games on your phone, the Red Magic 6R is the ultimate gaming phone.
We're gonna hop ahead a little bit here.
When it comes to playing games on this phone, you get a 144 Hertz signal in the description down below.
Now, the ending of the Loki finale inside of the TVA can be a little bit confusing. This isn't an alternate timeline because the TVA exists outside of time. I'll definitely do a video just breaking this down, but for the moment, basically what you need to know is that Kang came in, conquered the TVA, and has taken it over. Now, Kang has definitely changed things, and he's definitely gotten different variants of people and replaced them. And he's definitely brainwashed people and erased their previous memories in a different way than He Who Remains did. So basically what you need to know is it's a different TVA, and Kang the Conqueror rules this one, and Marvel.com did confirm that that statue at the end is indeed Kang. So it's a different TVA, one that Ravonna Renslayer was not around for when it was changed. She is left to search for He Who Remains, however, he's dead. She'll eventually find out that this new Kang is in charge of the TVA, and that's who she's going to go after. However, it might go down a little bit differently than she would expect. You see, if you've been following my videos or you're a comic book fan, you know that Ravonna Renslayer and Kang the Conqueror actually eventually
she's gonna go and get the
love,
heat.
much like Loki and Sylvie did. And I still don't care what anybody says, I still like that that happened. But
Me too.
Ravonna and Kang don't start off being lovers. In fact, when they first meet each other, Kang's a pretty big jerk. And in fact, that could be what He Who Remains was referring to when he said that he's been called a jerk, a conqueror. You see, Ravonna Renslayer in the comics is a princess, and Kang pretty much comes up and says, hey, I demand an audience with you. And she's like, what? No. Who are you? Who granted you access here? No, get out of here. And even her dad, the king, is like, nah, request denied. But this is how Kang replies. Silence, you are merely puppet rulers, and you know that full well. Kang is the power here, now and always. If you incur my displeasure, I may not permit you to one day rule the universe at my side, Ravonna. She replies with, "I'd rather die," and he replies with, "That too can be arranged with Kang. All things are possible." Then the Avengers come and fight him, and Kang pretty much destroys them with ease, like it's literally no big deal to him at all. Then Kang says, "I've earned your marriage by conquest." So he's kind of romantic, I guess. But ultimately it doesn't matter because eventually they do end up falling in love with each other, and they become lovers. And I'm predicting that in season 2 we might see a very similar story. Ravonna will be searching for Kang, and since he is the one that
They'll be
created the
opposing
TVA
forces,
lie, or
and
at
then
least a variant of him,
it'll be this push
she's gonna
and
be pretty
pull.
pissed off
Will they,
originally.
won't they? And
However,
then
this new
she'll just
Kang
fall
has his
for
own
him and his
TVA, and the
ambition,
variants of all
probably.
the people are still
Or their
there.
combined
Perhaps
ambition.
He wants to use the TVA still, of course, for his own doing, but use them nonetheless. And perhaps when Renslayer returns, she will see eye to eye with him. After all, she did want the TVA to stay intact, even though she knew the Timekeepers were alive. And I'm sure she could get that free will that she'd been searching for if she marries Kang. And if this does happen, she would rule beside him. And given her philosophy in episode 6, she would probably rule just like him. Maybe not as evil, but she would still be sending people to Eliath. Because one thing is for sure, the Kang the Conqueror that is coming, that is now in charge of the TVA, is going to be extremely evil. Even He Who Remains said, "If you think I'm evil, well, wait till you meet my variants." So a lot to look forward to in season 2 of Loki. But for now, where did Renslayer go? Well, she went in search of Kang. She wants revenge on the person that fed her this lie. So let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Let me know how
I'm at least happy that, like, I'm not the only one that saw it that way. And I know there's other people that did, but I got a lot of pushback for, like, my point of view on, like, the interpretation of the, not anybody being mean or anything like that. Just, like, I guess pushback's probably the wrong term to use there. I got a lot of opposing viewpoints as for my interpretation of how the show ended, but that I pretty much echo. I'm glad at least, like, Warren over here kind of read it the same way I did. And honestly, like, everything they've said about Renslayer is kind of just what I picked up on watching it. I assume she went to go find Kang or a Kang, because when she said the only person who has free will is the one in charge of this place. So she's going to find free will, and free will to her, based on what she said, is that person. So the only way for her to obtain free will or to have it is to be by that person's side or track them down and maybe take them out to get her own free will back. But her mission, lie or not, her duty was to the mission. Her job, her position, her beliefs that the TVA was a necessary, even if she didn't see it as evil, a necessary evil, like she said, like even if it was a lie, there's got to be a reason. Maybe it's a necessary lie. Like, she was committed to what they have been doing, because she felt in her core that it had to be for a reason, and that it was a greater reason than any personal beliefs or feelings she might have. Though, as we learned, she still didn't like the being lied to bit. So I like that there's kind of like this gray area she's living in, where part of her is like trying to convince Mobius, but also herself, that her purpose, her life it still mattered and meant something. But still, there's the other side of her that is upset, but she didn't know that there was something being hidden from her, that there was something beyond her knowledge this entire time, something puppeting her, and that made her definitely not happy. So I think she's going to go meet this new Kang, and there will be some tension there. There will be some push and pull. There will be her coming at conflict and at odds with him until she sees from his side of things what he's doing, what the results will be, and maybe through their back and forth, the repetitive interactions with each other, that's maybe when they'll go into this romance, if they develop that in the series at all. I mean, it's heavily hinted at. Well, not hinted at. It's just got a lot of ties to the comics and the lore, but we know they always kind of like to do something a little bit different when they're adapting these things to the screen. But I feel like it would make sense for them to go that route, even though it's not necessary. But I do sense that they will go towards a partnership. But according to Warren, at least he read it like kind of what I did, that Renslayer didn't get rewritten, but because Loki was away out there, the timeline splintered and left the TVA vulnerable. The TVA is outside of time, therefore unaffected by any changes in the timeline of the branches, and it opened it for conquering by this other Kang. So it's the same TVA, the same inhabitants. That's my interpretation. That's how I read it. Even though there's the parallel scenes with Mobius and B-15 at 2 different points during that period, I think we're seeing a past and a present to keep us on our toes. So I think that when we go back there, the original TVA, because there's evidence of it, because there was a reason they kept focusing on the rings that Mobius could not remember. And if they've been reset before, which Kang himself implies, Immortus implies, that he's been doing this a long time. I'm sure, just like with the Matrix, when we met Neo, they were on their 6th iteration, but it keeps resetting. And I have to imagine that he just had to reset it again. But the physical aspect, because that was something in the production design, somebody mentioned in the comments that one of the producers in charge of designing the sets made sure that nothing was changed except for a couple of key things, because the intent was to keep you on your toes and unsure if you were in the same place or not until you see that statue. Now, I don't think it's a different timeline in the TVA, because again, the TVA is outside of time. It is beyond time. So somebody has come in and reset everybody's memories. Obviously, they've been set up this entire time, learning that their memories were not their own, that their memories could be reset and erased. All of their memories of their past lives were taken from them. It goes to be shown that these are nuggets setting up in there that whoever is orchestrating or behind the scenes of the TVA has the ability to even wipe the people working there. So I think that's what happened. Because if this was a new timeline, an alternate timeline, it would have to be one that doesn't have a Loki at all, because they made sure to establish that Lokis, as far as variants go, were the ones they caught the most. And if this TVA is monitoring Lokis, they would have to know who Loki is. But no, our Loki comes in after they have just had their minds wiped, so they've got no knowledge of Loki's yet, because he came in just as they have been reset. They're like, what is happening? The timelines, branches are going everywhere. They're getting orders from above to just let things branch. So they're coming in with all this chaos, and they're like, who are you? They don't recognize the most prominent version of Loki at all. It's not even that he just doesn't remember this Loki or has never met this Loki, but it comes off as if he's never met a Loki at all. If this was a new timeline altogether and not a reset, they would have to have had previous memories of encountering a Loki sometime down the line. That's my interpretation. I could be wrong. I could be reading it. And I'm not saying that's the only way to read it, but that's how it makes sense to me. And in my head, moving forward with how it's been explained, when we take Miss Minute's explanation of what the TVA is and what Kang's explanation of what the TVA is, and then the evidence in the storytelling throughout, and then these little puzzle pieces, that's just how it makes sense to me. But yeah, guys, what do you think about this? What do you think about Renslayer, where she's going? Do you think we'll see her end up with Kang in the MCU? Do you think they will be romantic or just partners? What do you think they're going to do with Renslayer in the future? Do you think we could see her as a villain on her own before she joins Kang? Sound off the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below, and we'll carry on the conversation after the video. Before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends, Bandy Sherritt, Ryan Karen, Jason Coleman, and Philly Vane. If you guys want to join our Discord, links to that and all my socials in the description of this video. I like to hang out with everybody and chat in there with our theories and everybody, and just passing videos, sharing a bunch of stuff, and just chit-chatting any chance I get. So if you want to do that, I hope to see you there. But guys, that's it for this video for now. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Loki talk here for the next... It's going to be a while. It's going to be a minute, especially with What If coming around the corner. There's going to be a lot of Marvel stuff we're going to talk about. There's some stuff that Kevin Feige's talked about too in a couple of interviews here and there that we might touch upon if I have the time. So we got a lot to talk about, guys, and I hope you come and join the live stream tomorrow. We can talk about more Loki there, any of the other stuff we cover here on the channel. But guys, that's it for this one, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.